Have you ever made a mixtape, or for all you kiddies out there, a playlist? You know, that careful process of putting together just the right lineup. A mix of energy, mood, and just enough strangeness to make it all work. Well, Soundwave's been doing that since 1984, only his mixes aren't made of tunes, they're made of troopers. Everyone knows the hits: Laserbeak, Buzzsaw, Ravage, Rumble, Frenzy, Ratbat, side A of his little army. But buried at the bottom of the deck are the real oddballs, the deep cuts, the Japanese imports, the B sides, or in this case, the B team. The part of Soundwave's collection that nobody asked for. But I'm gonna play for you anyway. Can you think of one of your favorite albums of all time? I'll give you mine, August and Everything After by the Counting Crows, released way back in 1993. Now, those who are familiar know that this is where many of the Crows' biggest hits are found. Mr. Jones, Round Here, Rain King. But tucked in between those chart toppers are some real gems. Perfect Blue Buildings, Sullivan Street, and of course, Anna Begins. Songs that casual listeners might miss, but for the fans, those are the ones that really make this album special. It's that perfect balance of hits and deep cuts that makes the whole thing work. An amazing listening experience, or you could say, a wave of sound from start to finish. So Soundwave. Everybody loves him. And really, what's there not to love? He's got the coolest voice on Cybertron, an alt mode that's pure nostalgia, and the best gimmick in Transformers history. He doesn't just fight his own battles, he delegates them. Because Soundwave doesn't roll solo. He's got his own private army tucked inside his chest. Spies, stalkers, punks, and an accountant. We all know his greatest hits: Laserbeak, Buzzsaw, Ravage, Rumble, Frenzy, and Ratbat, the rock stars of his little lineup. But like any great album, there's more beneath the surface. Hidden tracks, deep cuts, the overlooked tunes that complete the experience. The B-side, the forgotten ones, the weird ones, the ones who might not have topped the charts but definitely deserve a little more airtime. Now, while Soundwave's main cassette operatives specialize in espionage, infiltration, and tactical disruption, the dinosaurs, Overkill and Slugfest, occupy a different niche within his ranks. They are the frontline enforcers, direct, destructive, and intimidating. Their combined presence gives Soundwave a level of physical power his other mini cassettes lack, allowing him to deploy overwhelming force when subtlety is not required. Overkill transforms into a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a horn. As if his rows of sharp teeth aren't enough, let's just give him one more pointy thing on his nose. Talk about over, you get the point, which tells you right away what kind of personality he's got. If his name didn't give it away, I guess you could sum up his entire philosophy as, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. He's armed with motion-tracking missile launchers, razor-edged jaws, and a temper that tends to outlast his battery life. When he's not fighting, he's bragging about fighting, and when he is fighting, he's probably narrating and recording it. He's one of those Decepticons who doesn't just want to win, he wants to dominate. He's all about proving he's the biggest and baddest, which makes it kind of funny that his transformation system is notoriously unreliable. There have been times when he's gotten stuck in his dinosaur mode, minus the mass shifting aspect. So yeah, while a full-sized metal T-Rex would be quite terrifying, a tiny little compact cassette-sized one? Not so. Overkill's only notable G1 cartoon appearance would be in the very excellent episode Call of the Primitives, wherein all the primitive Transformers are called to battle against the energy creature Tornadron. Like rats being swayed by the Pied Piper, Overkill shoots out of Soundwave's chest to answer said call, alongside his dino buddy, Slugfest. So if Overkill is the loud, overconfident half of this Dino duo, Slugfest is the paranoid one. His job is basically a data courier. He's supposed to carry encrypted messages and battlefield information from one base to another. But here's the problem. He doesn't trust anyone, not even himself. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, if you know what I mean, and he knows it. Every whisper sounds like an insult, every glance looks like a setup. And more often than not, that paranoia gets the better of him, leading to a lot of accidental data destruction. Still, when it comes to raw durability, Slugfest is a tank. Literally, his Stegosaurus mode is armed with solar-powered vibro cannons, and his spine backplates can grind through just about anything in his way. Within Soundwave's army, these two serve as his heavy infantry, blunt force on legs. They might not sneak into enemy territory, but they sure can flatten it. Overkill brings the ego, Slugfest brings the muscle, and together they make chaos look prehistoric. The next duo are the Decepticons, Beastbox and Squawktalk. Now, on paper, you'd think these two would have nothing in common. Beastbox is a gorilla, all fists and fury, while Squawktalk is a bird, fluent in over 6,500 alien languages and unable to shut up about it. But somehow, they've made it work. They're basically Soundwave's odd couple. So, officially, Beastbox is Soundwave's interrogator, though interrogation might be too generous of a term. Sure, just like your average ape, Beastbox is naturally curious, which should, in theory, make him great at his job. Unfortunately, he is also quite impatient and subject to violent rages. This dude can record up to 6,000 hours worth of confessions, but in reality, he rarely captures anything but a bunch of "Ah!" and "Stop hitting me!" screams and cries of his prisoners as he pummels them with his heavy metal fists, leaving his superiors rather displeased with his performance. I mean, you can't get any useful information from an Autobot after he's been beaten to death. Am I right? And while he may lack Beastbox built-in compression cannons that can crush armor with bursts of super pressurized air and fists that hit like industrial wrecking balls, Squawktalk has his own way of beating down his enemies with his non-stop chatter. Officially, Squawktalk acts as Soundwave's translator, who, as I mentioned earlier, is capable of decoding or mimicking over 6,500 alien dialects, which in theory, again, makes him rather invaluable. In practice, though, Squawktalk is unbearable with his non-stop talking. He never stops. Ever. It's like his greatest flaw, as well as his defining trait. The dude just cannot keep quiet. His ceaseless chatter ruins stealth missions and frays the patience of even the most tolerant Decepticons. But at the end of the day, he is tolerated because when the job calls for it, Squawktalk is flawless. His sonic boomer cannons can shatter steel and disorient enemies with pinpoint precision. He can also use language itself as a weapon. Psychological warfare through sound. But here's where it gets really wild when the chatterbox bird and the knuckle sandwich serving monkey combine. They form Squawkbox, a Decepticon so loud, so chaotic, and so creatively unhinged that Megatron had to invent a new job title just to justify his existence. Battlefield Dissonance Specialist. And as highfalutin as that title sounds, at the end of the day, Squawkbox simply sees himself as a musician. No, really, in his mind, he's not making noise, he's composing. Every battle is his stage, every explosion a drum beat, and every Autobot scream part of the chorus. What the rest of the Decepticons call sonic torture, he calls art. His own wall of sound, if you will. And while his performance can leave Autobots scrambled and disoriented, they often also leave his own teammates equally dazed and confused. Think of him as the heavy metal concert nobody asked for, with actual explosions. Within Soundwave's roster, Beastbox, Squawktalk, and Squawkbox represent something unique. The study of sound not as communication, but as chaos. But as effective as chaos can be, even Soundwave knows that noise without structure eventually collapses in on itself. Like any system or symphony, there has to be balance. For every burst of unrestrained volume, there needs to be someone keeping the rhythm. For every voice that spreads confusion, there has to be another ensuring discipline. And that's where the next two cassettes come in. If Beastbox and Squawktalk are the Decepticon embodiment of noise, then Garboil and Howlback are the ones who turn that noise into order. These guys are the watchmen of Soundwave's world. Together, they don't just keep the chaos contained, they manage it. Within Soundwave's cassette network exists a special division that doesn't deal with spying on Autobots or sabotaging enemy bases. Their focus is inward. They are called the Cobalt series, silent regulators who make sure loyalty isn't just expected, but enforced. Basically, the Decepticon secret police. Their job isn't to fight the war, it's to make sure no one inside the Decepticon ranks ever questions it. Thundercracker, beware! Two names define this shadowy unit, Garboil and Howlback. Garboil, the Blue Condor, acts as the team's information officer, the master of data, surveillance, and propaganda. He monitors communication lines, rewrites reports, and filters the truth until it fits whatever story Megatron wants told. His voice isn't just a weapon, it's a psychological tool capable of emitting subsonic frequencies that disorient his targets and twist perception itself. Garboil doesn't just track information, he controls it. To him, truth is flexible. What matters is control. Then there's Howlback, refined, poised, and lethal. She's the enforcement officer, responsible for the final step when Garboil's words aren't enough. Her feedbacker shield can absorb enemy fire and send it straight back, and her multi-tracked missiles make her a precision hunter. But her real strength lies in discipline. She doesn't just punish disobedience, she eliminates it. Together, Garboil and Howlback represent the two sides of Decepticon authority, information and enforcement. Garboil shapes what people believe, and Howlback makes sure they don't stop believing. And speaking of that, can you believe that likes, comments, shares, and subs, although very much welcome, are apparently not the best way to help YouTube channels out? Yup, the real channel saver is watch time, like extended watch time. So if you really want to help my channel out, just keep watching. Binge my channel whenever you can, or just keep me playing in the background while you go about your day. In the end though, whichever way you choose to help will be very much appreciated, so thank you. And thanks to viewer Bibiana Jones for helping me out with the research on this video. Anyway, in a faction built on fear and control, even Soundwave's army needs a little maintenance. After all, loyalty doesn't mean much if your soldiers are too damaged to fight or too dead to obey. And that's where things take an unexpected turn, because the next cassette in Soundwave's lineup isn't a spy, a soldier, or a saboteur. He's a doctor. Among Soundwave's cassettes, Glit stands out as something completely different, a medic in a faction built on destruction. He's the Decepticons' field surgeon, armed not with blasters or bombs, but with hip-mounted toolkits and laser scalpels. His only mission is to keep others alive. But being a doctor isn't really what sets Glit apart. I mean, in a war, everybody needs a doctor. Good guys, bad guys, everyone gets blown up every once in a while. What makes Glit truly unique is his compassion. He'll treat any injured Transformer he finds, Decepticon or Autobot. And that's earned him equal parts respect and suspicion. It is said that when Glit appears on the battlefield, neither side will win because no warriors will die. Now, I get it, having a compassionate Decepticon is weird. But believe me, it gets even weirder. Because apparently, Glit's most prominent role wasn't in the repair bay, it was on stage. Yeah, in one of the weirdest twists in Transformers history, Glit ends up getting drafted into an Autobot Decepticon pop idol group, of all things, the Kiss Players. And as bizarre as that sounds, Glit somehow makes it work. His compassion shines through as he serves as the peacemaker of the group, the one who keeps things in check with his bandmates, Rosanna and Sundor, two Autobots. Well, actually, make that one Autobot because the other? Yeah, turns out he's not just soaking up the spotlight, he is soaking up intel. See, Sundor isn't exactly who he says he is. On paper, he's an Autobot flyer, a bright solar-powered condor whose exposure to cosmic radiation supposedly cleansed him of his Decepticon past. That's the story everyone believes. Even Blaster bought it. But behind the golden glow, Sundor's still working for Megatron as a spy, planted deep within the Autobot ranks, using his charm and his sun-powered blasters to mask his true allegiance. Sundor's Corona ray weapons can melt through steel, and his solar armor makes him nearly invincible under direct sunlight. But the moment the sun sets, well, he goes to bed, I guess. Now, a Decepticon pretending to be an Autobot, that's pretty nefarious stuff, but let's take that idea a level deeper. What about an Autobot who doesn't even know she's actually a Decepticon? Enter Flipsides. At first glance, she's everything you'd want in an Autobot. Calm, organized, compassionate, a data officer who used to be a teacher before the war. Everyone trusts her. Everyone likes her. But here's the twist. Flipsides isn't really an Autobot at all. She is a sleeper agent, a Decepticon plant, buried so deep that even she doesn't know it. Her memories, her spark signature, her entire identity, all rewritten thousands of years ago as part of some long-forgotten Decepticon experiment in infiltration. Somewhere inside her is a hidden trigger waiting to reawaken her true self. What makes Flipside so fascinating and tragic is that her kindness is real. Her friendships are real. She believes she is an Autobot, and by all accounts, she's a good one. Flipsides is the ultimate paradox, a Decepticon spy so perfectly programmed that she's become the hero she was meant to betray. A hero that in reality doesn't exist. And speaking of things that shouldn't exist, let's talk about Enemy. Enemy is, quite literally, the Decepticon who wasn't supposed to be real. His story didn't start in a cartoon, a comic, or even a script. It started on the front of a toy box. Back in 1983, before Transformers even hit store shelves, Takara's old Microchange line featured a predominantly red version of the MC01 Micros mold, the toy that would eventually become both Rumble and Frenzy in the US. But while that red variant never got officially released as a Transformer, its likeness was used on a licensed Decepticon-branded radio toy, with one simple word printed on the box: Enemy. And that was it. No bio, no story, just a name. For decades, collectors joked about this lost cassette warrior who existed only on packaging, but over time, that joke turned into canon. Eventually, Takara leaned into it, and Enemy finally made his proper debut in a Transformers Legends comic as part of Soundwave's cassette strike team during a raid on the Autobot arc. And from that moment, the myth became real. The Decepticon who shouldn't exist now officially did. As a character, Enemy lives up to his name. Personality-wise, he's exactly what his name suggests: antagonistic and almost impossible to work with. He thrives on conflict. Not for strategy or cause, but because he just likes being hated. Basically, an a-hole. In Soundwave's roster, he's not the quiet assassin or the loyal soldier. He's the irritant, the one who provokes, distracts, and destabilizes. And somehow, that makes him useful. I mean, at least more useful than a cassette that goes kaboom on the first day of the job, I guess. Introducing one of Soundwave's more short-lived recruits, the Auto Scout. If most of Soundwave's cassettes have distinct personalities, this one barely had any time to develop one. The Auto Scout appeared only once in the G1 cartoon, in the episode A Prime Problem, deployed by Soundwave to retrieve a sample of some explosive corlonium crystals, and unfortunately, exploded. And that was it. His entire career. One mission, one explosion, one very permanent end. Still, for every expendable drone, Soundwave always had a few projects worth echoing. His Dino cassettes, Overkill and Slugfest, were prime examples. Raw Dino power neatly packed into an analog shell. So, when those two proved effective, why stop there? And that's where Uriad and Uruaz stomp in. These two are essentially the Decepticon evil twins of the Autobot Dino cassettes Dairu and Zauru. And if the name sounds suspiciously familiar, well, that's because they're literally Dairu and Zauru spelled backwards. Subtlety has never really been the Decepticon's strong suit. Just like their goody-goody counterparts, Uriad transforms into an Iguanodon, while Uruaz transforms into an Apatosaurus. Just kidding. An Apatosaurus or Brontosaurus. And when combined, they form the Decepticon. Yeah, they didn't even bother to give this thing a name. But hey, if we're sticking with the trend, maybe we can call him Tuogel or Leg In. Okay, I'll stop. Okay, fine, I lied. I won't stop because we've got one more group of cassettes to cover, and these last few all share one thing in common. None of them actually started out as cassettes at all. Let's begin with the winged one, Wingthing, who started his existence as an accessory. Way back in the 90s, with Transformer toys basically on life support, a desperate Hasbro decided to try something different. Transformers that didn't transform. I know, the irony writes itself. Anyway, Action Master Soundwave was released with a bright orange robotic bat named Wingthing, who was meant to be Soundwave's companion, part pet and part weapon. His wings folded up to turn him into a handheld concussion cannon thing. And for the longest time, that's all Wingthing was, a quirky orange bat sidekick lost to the twilight years of G1. But then something happened. Thanks to Hasbro's love of making the quick and easy buck with repaints, cassette Wingthing was now a thing. In 2012, Takara reissued their OG Ratbat toy with a new orange paint scheme and called it Wingthing. And in 2017, upgraded him to Masterpiece level as well. And then in 2020, released him as part of a Generation Select Spy Patrol pack as once again a repainted Siege Ratbat alongside another bat, Scar, who traditionally is the Decepticon Power Master partner of the double agent, Double Dealer. Now also using the Ratbat mold painted purple with a newly tooled head. And just to make sure that they got their money's worth with that new head, in 2024, Hasbro repainted it white and teal and called it Night Strike, who technically was a character from the 2015 series Robots in Disguise. Not G1, but whatever. It's a cool enough redeco, good enough to include in this video. And speaking of some more cool inclusions, if you are constantly scouring the internet for vintage Transformers box art, chances are, like me, you've come across this site, Botch's Transformers Box Archive. If you haven't, then you're welcome. Anyway, I bring this up because Botch is actually the name of the site's mascot, Botch the Crab, who is apparently a cassette bot too. Anyway, many years ago, I connected with the owner of the site, Adam Alexander, and offered to remake his Botch in 3D. So here he is, alongside his buddies, Bungle and Fuck Up. Anyway, I thought I'd include these dudes as a nice shout out to Mr. Alexander and a thank you for the effort he's gone through the years of archiving all these fantastic pieces of art from our childhood toys. And speaking of toys, since we've already ventured well into toy territory, let's keep going, shall we? Starting with the OG Dinos Overkill and Slugfest, who were first sold as a 2-pack in 1987. And while that was pretty much it officially for Slugfest, Overkill made not one, but two surprise returns to retail shelves. First, in 2008 as a repaint of Classics Grimlock, and then in 2016 as a cute little Titan Master, but now going by the name Overboard. On the unofficial front, in 2014, third-party company KFC gave us decent masterpiece versions of the Dino duo with their Overslay and Haymaker. And surprisingly, a really obscure and unheard of company, Robot Paradise, actually released much superior versions in 2024. But as small as these dudes were, if you wanted something smaller, Dr. Wu's got your back with their generation-sized versions of Brutality and Slaughter. And while he's with me, Dr. Wu also gave us a cute little version of Beastbox and Squawktalk, who, like their OG versions, could merge to form Squawkbox, now named Chatter, and who, due to transformation, had a not quite cute ability. Yeah. Please don't touch his birdie. Indeed. Anyway, questionable design ability aside, as far as I know, Chatter is the only modern update, official or unofficial, of Beastbox, Squawktalk, and Squawbox, whose OG toys were released way back in 1988. Now, in Japan, the Takara Tomy affiliated online store eHobby would be responsible for giving us plastic representations of most of the other Soundwave deep cuts, starting with the Secret Police Garboil and Howlback, matching blue repaints of Laserbeak and Ravage respectively, who were released in a Cobalt Sentry 2-pack in 2005. Flipsides, a pink-ish repaint of the Autobot Tape Dudes Rewind and Eject, was released as a pack-in with the blued version of Blaster Twincast in 2006. And then in 2007, Glit took the stage with his fellow Kiss Player bandmates Rosanna and Sandor in a Pretty in Pink 3-pack. The first plastic versions of Enemy and Wingthing were sold as an encore reissue of the Black Soundwave Sound Blaster in 2012, and both were upgraded to masterpiece status in 2017 with a limited edition Takara Tomy Mall set alongside Blaster rarities Night Stalker and Stripes. Who now? If you want to know more about those Blaster B-sides, you can check out their video on my channel as well. And a year later, the evil twin Dino duo of Uriad and Uruwaz were released with some yellow dude named, Bumblebee, in a special Bumblebee Volume 2 Retro Pop Highway 3-pack. And finally, the Auto Scout, who may on record have the shortest official existence of all of Soundwave's crew, surprisingly found new life in plastic form with no less than 4, as far as I know, unofficial masterpiece-ish scaled toys released. TFC as part of a Gears of War set and iGear both released around 2009, and then of course the usual suspects, KFC in 2015, and finally Robot Paradise in 2024. That's quite a lot of plastic for such an obscure little dude. And speaking of little dudes, have you heard of the little dude who has a knack of carrying Decepticon tapes on his shoulder and riding waves? I hear he packs quite a punch. If you want to know more about this hunk Brawn, I've got his story over here. Or if you want my latest video, I've got that over here. Either way, thanks for watching, and I hope to hear from you in the comments below. Go ahead and tell me your story.